What is going on, 5'9 gamers? My name is Joe Wags, and today I will be your host for your favorite podcast, the Dokkan Battle Podcast. Our podcast is presented to you by 5'9 Gaming. 5'9 Gaming is your source for all things gaming, anime, and entertainment related. Be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things 5'9. Today's episode is number 105. No one can beat the podcast when it's Super 17. So we got some fun things to talk about. We're wrapping up the 8th anniversary and then rolling into the next Dokkan Fest. I can't do it alone. I've got some wonderful guests with me today. My first guest has a glorious beard, but is too lazy for face cam. Say hi to Minato. Minato, how you doing?
Hi, how's it going? I'm here, and I love Dokkan.
Yes, you do love Dokkan. And you love answering random questions on Twitter, apparently. So everyone send Minato random questions on Twitter.
Don't.
Yeah. My next guest is the original Super Battle Road King, now playing JP, the Masked Ningen. How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing pretty good. Always happy to be here. Just to be clear, though, I am now playing JP as well. I'm still a global main in my heart. So
Global to JP pipeline. I'm just telling y'all. Look, watch 1 year, Ningen's gonna be like, well, if I'm spending on global on JP already, then kind of like, what's really the point of spending on global if I'm already doing everything at JP? Then he's gonna switch over to JP. I've seen this happen multiple times, you know. We just have to wait and see.
It's not happening.
No. Ningen knows that Global's the superior version. JP is just the beta version. They're just the play test. And then Global's the correct full version, the better version with all those great global perks. So he just wants to experience the best of both worlds, right?
Okay.
That's how it goes. All right, so we're going to start with the little 8th anniversary recap. So I'm just going to quickly summarize kind of everything we have, and I'm going to get everyone's thoughts on just the anniversary as a whole, and then we're going to dive in deeper on a couple of topics for the 8th anniversary before we move on. So we obviously got the new units. So we got the Buu Saga duo, the GT duo, and then the part 2 units are the Carnival opening Goku, the Carnival opening Gohan. We got an Ice and Nova unit. We got Gotenks and Piccolo. Those were the side banner units. And then we got some free-to-play units. We got the LR Babidi Vegeta card. We got the Hercule card. And then we got some pretty good EZAs. We got Physical Vegito. We got STR Buu, STR Kaioken Goku. Spirit Bomb Absorb Goku. We got the STR Gogeta and the Tech Vegito, the year 5. So those were pretty good. And then just a ton of events, right? A bunch of story events, some unique events, some link level events. We got a world tournament, chain battle, burst mode. So there was just a ton going on in this anniversary. So Minato, I'm going to start with you. Just how do you feel overall about the 8th anniversary? And if you want to rank it among the other ones, feel free to do that as well.
I think it's really good. In terms of ranking it with other, anniversaries, I think it's high up there. I feel like you could argue it as better than the 7th anniversary, maybe, because it just overall, I feel like they kind of mushed together what we got, because the Part EX, I feel like people low-key overrate, the Part EX last year. We got the LR Super Saiyan 4s, this is huge, for sure. But besides them, we just got the GT Goku and Vegeta Jr. Kind of suck, right? I mean, they're very bad.
And
they're bugged. So
I was gonna say they were bugged.
You couldn't really even use them properly. Not that it was a big difference, but in JP they were bugged. So it's basically not released, right? It was really just Super Saiyan 4 EZAs who also, and at the end of the day, kind of aged out really quickly. In hindsight, they're not as good as we thought they were because there just wasn't options like that. Whilst the 8th anniversary, I feel handled pacing in terms of content really better. I always felt like there was something to do during the 8th anniversary. Whilst even during the 7th anniversary, sometimes there were kind of little dry spots. In part 1, it was pretty much just the banners. Whilst this year in part 1, we got EZAs, right? I think they handled that a lot better. And I feel I don't know, I really think the 8th anniversary could be over the 7th. I haven't looked at the two of them and really side by side compared them, but maybe I'll do that later. Now, I feel like the worldwide celebration for Cooler might still be even above that. Just because I feel like there is just even more to do in that celebration. I feel like it was much more tightly fit together, especially considering it was just a part 1 and part 2. There kind of technically was a part 3, I guess, right, if I'm not mistaken, but it really felt more just put together rather than what we got for the anniversary. In terms of like comparing those three specifically as the best celebrations, with I feel like a lot of people would say those three are the top three in the game, but yeah, it was pretty good overall. I enjoyed it.
Very good. Ningen, what did you think? This is what brought you to JP, right? Like you started playing in time for the anniversary, is that correct?
Well, I started playing in time for the anniversary, but solely for content purposes. It
Yeah,
wasn't because obviously I thought the anniversary was like super awesome or anything like that.
right.
I definitely disagree with quite a few things that Minato said. I don't think you can compare this to the 7th anniversary at all. I think the 7th anniversary was clearly better. I don't feel like there was always something to do during this anniversary, but I will say I feel that that's the case with like every Dokkan celebration. I feel the way they release content during celebrations is always bad. Like they bring out 10 things on the first day and then there's nothing else to do for like a week. And I know the reason for that is because obviously most people don't, play it for like 8 hours and do all the stuff in one day. Like it's kind of different for content creators. So if you take it like a little piece at a time, there is obviously stuff to do every day. But most of the way through the anniversary, I would say I was disappointed with the amount of content and the content that we got in general. I said this before, and I had a big debate with Truth, and some other people jumped in. Like for me personally, I don't think like easy A's make a celebration good. Like they're obviously part of the entire recipe, but people act like I literally saw people saying that like the anniversary was mid, and then as soon as they announced that they're easy Aing the 5-year easy A's, the same people are then like, oh, this is the best anniversary ever. And it's like, really? Like if you boil that down into its most basic like version of that argument, that's like saying if a celebration was awful, terrible, boring, had no content, and then they release like the best easy A in the game, then suddenly that makes that celebration good. I don't understand that line of thinking, like personally. Like obviously it's good to get good easy A's, and the easy A's are good, but if you thought the anniversary was bad before the 5-year easy A's got announced and now all of a sudden you think it was good, like personally I don't get that line of thinking. But I would say overall I was disappointed with the content in general up until the last part when they released that 8th anniversary battle thing. I don't know if this is because my JP account is a bit weaker than my global account. I say a bit, it's considerably weaker. Like I have some good units, but a lot of them are like 55%. And so, I actually it took me a few attempts to beat the 4th anniversary one within the 4 turns, like restriction, because so many of my units don't have dupes or weren't fully link leveled. And then actually took me multiple attempts just to even beat the 8th anniversary one. I didn't do it within the turn limit, but just to actually beat it in
Mm-hmm.
general, it took me multiple attempts. So I don't know if it's just because it's the flip side of not being a whale, but that was probably some of the most fun that I've had playing Dokkan in the last couple of months, was playing that anniversary battle event. And I don't know how much of it is because my box is weaker, it was actually more of a challenge. But I thought that event was really fun. So I think without that event coming out, this anniversary would have just been, I would almost say, bad in terms of the overall like amount of content and stuff. But that event coming out at the end, I think definitely picked it up a little bit. I definitely enjoyed that. So I think overall the anniversary was good. I think it's weird to rate anniversaries because when you look at the stuff side by side, even though there was different release timings, a lot of the amount of content is the same. Like in this celebration, we got Easy A's in part 1, which we didn't get last year, but then we didn't get any X part. So we still kind of got the same like amount of Easy A's. And obviously some of them were good, some of them not. To add on to Minato's point about the Super Saiyan 4s, I think one of the reasons why people hyped them up so much when they got announced was the surprise of the fact that
Mm-hmm.
after they'd have done the 3 years, I don't think anyone expected they were going to do the 4 years as well, or at least realistically. I know some people obviously joked about it. It was like they could do the 4 years as well because 3 plus 4 is 7, but I don't think many people realistically expected them to announce it, especially when we had no idea that an EX part was even going to be a thing. But the other thing is also because it kind of saved, I guess is one word for it, the LR Super Saiyan 4's team, because I feel like up until that point, the two teams were really unbalanced because the Gods team got God Goku's EZA like straight away. And the LR Super Saiyan 4's, they got Tech Gogeta's EZA, and that was
Mid.
good. But yeah, he's not like, he wasn't like super crazy, the slot 1 unit they need. He wasn't their team's God
He was
Goku,
very
basically.
overrated.
Yeah, he was not their team's God Goku. And then, of course, in the EX part, they announced the EZAs for the LR Super Saiyan 4's, who then, at that point, at that release time, it was like, oh, well, you definitely run them on the LR Super Saiyan 4's team then. And it kind of elevated that team a little bit, like right at the end. But yeah, I do think it was good overall in terms of just as any celebration in Dokkan goes, the anniversary is always going to have a ton of extra stuff. All the things like the rainbow tickets, some of the things like the rewards for the events and stuff were pretty cool. The units were interesting. I know there seems to be quite a split between the part 2 units. Like, I think most people experience this. I don't know if, Minato, what your numbers are like specifically, but like, I pulled both the part 2 LRs and I did what I always do and put out like a 55% showcase for both of them, and they did terribly. Like, no one seems to care about the part 2 units, like, at all, especially Gohan. Like,
Funny enough,
no
yeah,
one cares about Gohan, which is kind of crazy.
I was talking with Truth about it when they were coming out, and it was like, yeah, no one gives a dang about Gohan at all. No one cares about Gohan at all.
But he's really
Goku
good.
actually did very well, but it just Kid Gohan LR people just don't care about. Like, oh, it's Kid Gohan, who cares, right? Even though the concept is really cool, and it makes me very sad because I feel like both LRs, it's like, sure, we can get something from any saga. We can get like, a new, like, I don't know, ×4 Kaioken Goku coming to Heart something again or something, right? But it's like, this is something completely like, I would say not original, obviously, because it's from like the openings, but like we don't get characters usually that are like, oh, from the opening or from the Dragon Ball ending or something, right? So it's like seeing that is pretty cool to have represented rather, what if it was just a support member or something, right? As like, okay, well, it's kind of boring. So it is a little disappointing to me because I think the actual idea and concept for it was really cool.
Yeah.
In terms of the actual anniversary itself, I just feel like you say like the 7th anniversary felt like much better to you, but what was there that like really was too different? Like we got the 2 red zones during the 7th anniversary, but then at the end of the day, during the 8th anniversary, we got the Shadow Dragon event and the 8th anniversary event, which is 2 high-end difficult content events. Like the really only thing different between the 7th and 8th anniversary is that one, the 8th anniversary is in 3 parts instead of 4 parts, so the content is less spread out. And then on top of that, the 7th anniversary has the legendary Goku and Vegeta event missions, which are cool. But we got both tournament. Just kidding. But it's like,
yeah, that's another thing. Actually, that is a good point. Anyone who thinks
like,
the 8th anniversary was the best anniversary when it featured a world tournament, everyone's least favorite game mode.
The thing is
on.
that they really did improve in terms of world tournament because they made it so that the AI don't fight each other anymore. So it's much easier to get through that. They made world tournament EZAs, and again, you only have to grind through 30 mil. Well, it's a boring mode. There still is a lot of good stuff in there, and they gave you those EZAs essentially. It
is still the like polishing a turd basically. It's still
like
even the AI improvement is great.
Like,
but
what does the 7th anniversary have that make it like differentially better than the 8th anniversary? Like, well, it's basically
it's one of those things that I think what I was trying to allude to a little bit, I think it's quite hard to quantify because, like I said, if you line things up side by side, even though things might have released at different times, I think the actual, in terms of the amount of content, it probably isn't that different. I'm not too sure how it like pans out, but
very, very
I think it comes down to, like I said, maybe it's just for me. I feel like it is personal for everyone, like how you choose to rate these kind of events. But I think a big part of it for me plays into what I was saying about the 8th anniversary event, at least for my JP account, like being challenging. Whereas even with my account as weak as it is, the Shadow Dragon event thing was a joke. And I beat Sin in like 2 attempts.
Congrats.
So like, I don't... like to me that event was nothing. It wasn't in any way comparable. Like holding it up as side by side as like this is one of the top anniversary events compared to the 7 year getting the red zone. Like I don't think it compares at all.
I disagree. Sin
But I
Shenron's
do like the
actually
8th
very
anniversary
difficult.
one. I must have just got really lucky then. But again, most of my team was 55%. So
I mean, the thing
it was
about
not difficult
Sin
for me.
Shenron is he's basically just a harder Omega, just a much harder Omega Shenron fight. I feel overall, he has a type coverage. His normals hit, from what I'm taking a look here, 480k. And he does lower defense on his super attack. Right, he hits pretty hard. I feel like I don't know. Maybe a lot of
I don't know,
people
maybe
don't
like I
like
said,
it.
maybe I did just get lucky, but I did not find it that difficult. And most of my team was Power of Wishes, which I believe he does extra damage to. And even then, it was not that difficult. One thing I wanted to pick up before we move on to, I guess, to like the next thing, I just want to point out, I love the fact that Joe, in his opening description of the anniversary, said as one of the parts, we got some good easy A's, and then the next words out of his mouth were physical Super Vegito.
That's funny.
Oh, did I
moving on
say?
to-
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, I still think that he's overhated. I think he's better than people.
Well, so-
I mean, he
so-
probably is overhated, but he's also mid.
The
I
big-
mean,
the
none of
big
us
thing-
just talk about him now, right?
Right, I was gonna say the big thing with him, and I want to chime in on the last part too, really quick. But the big thing with Super Vegito is he's at least gonna age well for tanking normals, and I think that's the big
Yes.
thing you can get from him. But I do want to chime in, like as a global player, I haven't experienced the 8th anniversary, so I can't speak on it as a whole. But I do want to speak on Ningen's point. You know, I would agree that Easy A's alone won't necessarily make an event the best, but for me personally, the Easy A's are probably my favorite part of an event, and they are a huge chunk of what makes an event valuable to me, right? So like, for example, on global right now with the Bardock stuff, which we're going to talk about later, I'm actually more excited for the Easy A's than maybe the actual banner units and things like that.
Yes.
Because like Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, that physical Super Saiyan 2 Bardock, like I'm very excited for that. And in Bojack, I'm very excited for these units, right? So for me, the year 5s, Easying, I think that's a really big thing that does help the 8th anniversary be really good. And it's very exciting to me. And then on global, we got Gohan and Cell Easy. Like Easy A's are just my favorite thing about Dokkan, like totally, especially being a veteran player. You've got these units in your box that are collecting dust that are rainbowed, and now you have a god. And even if you summon for a unit or not, you can still make really good use of this Easy A's. So I do want to say that I really, really do like Easy A's in general. But
I mean, the thing is, I don't disagree with that. I think the problem is, it's always a problem with Twitter where you can only put so many words into a tweet.
yeah,
What I was trying to explain, I
Good.
think I hopefully did a better job actually having time to explain it out loud. But obviously, Easy A's are part of making a celebration good, but it's not. My whole
Right.
point was just that, like, if you thought the celebration was terrible before,
Yeah.
I don't see how a good Easy A coming out makes the celebration itself suddenly good.
Right, and I agree
But
with
yeah,
that.
getting good AZAs is definitely a big factor. And like you said, a big reason is because you take units that you've maybe had for a while that you just almost can't use anymore, and suddenly they're really, really good. So
Yep. Exactly, especially when you get units like that physical Super Saiyan 2 Bardock, that's a support unit that fits on so many teams and helps so many units. Like, that's just awesome.
Minato's favorite.
Yeah, exactly. Minato's favorite
No.
unit. Yep. So on the topic of EZA, sure, let's start with physical Vegito. So we got physical Vegito, STR Buu. I think we may have talked about STR Kaioken Blue Goku last time. I don't remember. But then, yeah, we got the year 5s and we got Spirit Bomb Absorb Goku. So we'll just make this like an EZA topic on the 8th year. So Ningen, I'll start with you. If you talk about any of these EZAs you want to, tell me your thoughts on them and what you think.
Well, so I'll let Minato defend physical Super Vegito. I definitely agree that he's overhated, but I also don't think he's that good. But I don't have him on my JP. I also don't have Super Boo, so my experience of them is through watching these guys like videos and stuff.
Sure.
Super Boo obviously can be very, very good. He still has the same sort of issue where depending on which transformation you end up getting, it can kind of like make or break his performance. But obviously once you get like Buhan out, he's really, really good. So that is very cool. And then one thing I do want to say is the AGL, the Spirit Bomb absorbed Goku. I feel like he's a bit overhated as well. He's not super, super good, but I feel like as like a third slot floating unit, especially because he's an orb changer for the team, I feel like he's pretty solid. The fact that he's a 7 out of 7 link partner with the 8th anniversary, like the Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. Obviously, when the celebration first started and they were revealed and their category was revealed, he was kind of like the top pick for an Easy A because he goes so well with them. So I think his Easy A is better than some people make out, but obviously he's not like crazy. He's obviously not on the 5 years level. And then Blue Kaioken Goku, I don't have him either. So I've seen the crazy the meme is back where it's like you build the Universe 7 team, you use the crazy like nuke spirit bomb strategy, and he can still absolutely devastate events, which is kind of funny. So and then I know you didn't mention them specifically, but the 5-year Easy A's, yeah, they're insane. On my JP account, I have Gogeta at 79%, and I didn't have Vegito, so I picked him up with red coins. And even at 55%, like they're both so good, just absolutely crazy. So obviously, again, as a global player, super looking forward to them at Rainbow level 10 links once we get their Easy A's. But yeah, overall, I think the Easy A's were a mixed bag. Because I have to think, even like if we got was it 6 in total? And like
Yes.
half of them people consider are like really good, and then the other 3, it's kind of a bit up or down whether people think they were good or not. So I don't know if that's good overall in general, but the ones that are good are really good. So
Yeah, I'm just disappointed. I gotta wait till darn near August to get those year 5s. It's gonna be it's gonna be a wait, but
yeah.
we'll get there.
Like,
So Minato, your thought on the ECAs?
to me, that sounds pretty much exactly like how the 7th-year ones, like the bad ones are pretty bad, but the good ones are really good, right?
Right.
Or is it honestly Easy A's in general? Let's be
I
real.
suppose that that is every Easy A, right? It's
It's
either
every
terrible
Easy
or
A.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for exceptions, But,
Yeah, there are some,
But again, I think physical supervision is better than people give him credit for, but they could have made him like they could have done something to give him some way to combat these super attacks, even though it's his biggest weakness. And I understand they kind of want to keep the same ideology of what the unit was before their Easy A. There should have been something that would allow him to like kind of foresee super attacks or something, especially considering at the time when he came out, I was like, oh, maybe S tier Super Vegeta was going to Easy A, give him the Scouter, be really good linking partner, but no. So it's like, okay, why would you drop him just like that?
yeah.
S tier Super Boo is really good. I do think the biggest flop that they did with them is not changing his transformation to turn 4 instead of turn 5. I think that's such a massive difference. If it was turn 4, you could always float him off, even if you get him turn 1, and then he comes back as Buhan, and then you're cooking, right? But since it's turn 5, you're stuck with 2 turns of Super Boo for the most part. And it's like, Super Boo is like itself like solid. He's not like anything great. I wouldn't even say he's bad, but he's okay. Now when he goes Buhan, he's just very, very busted. Boo Gotenks is okay, I guess. And then Boo Piccolo is also very, very busted as well. But Super Boo I feel like is not strong enough to warrant you having him for 5 turns, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The part 2 units, I feel like Blue Kaioken, we know about Blue Kaioken already, and Spirit Bomb absorbed Goku. I think was a little underpowered defensively. That's really all I'll say there. Now, part 3, I mean, again, I feel like everyone knows how good the Blue Fusions is. I don't really have to touch on them, but they're a top 5 units of the game. And they're very, very strong. They're very fun. And I know you global players are very excited waiting for these guys to actually, try them out stuff. Fortunately, gonna be a few months from now. But when they do come, you guys will be very ecstatic, especially if like worldwide is like with fusions again. Then we could
yeah.
really you guys could really benefit from them being released right before the worldwide celebration. So that's pretty good. Overall, the Easy A's I think were handled well. I mean, we got 3, I feel like really good Easy A units. Super Boo is like right under that. He's like good, but I wouldn't say he's like, mega OP Pog, especially because we're gonna get like that LR Kid Boo.
Yeah,
then
the
the
fact
other
that
2
he doesn't
kinda
have a
underwhelming.
crazy team is the main thing, right?
Yeah, I'd say that is probably the main thing, even above, 5-turn Super Boo. When he gets his team, he'll be much more clicking, and honestly, I would say like he'd be better than Blue Gogeta once you get this team. But for now, since he doesn't really have that situation, probably Gogeta would be above him. I don't know. I think it's pretty even between the two. And about Blue Falcon, who's just absurd in the right situations, but again, he needs a better team. So,
Yeah.
just
Which
my
might be
thoughts on
coming.
those
Might be
units.
coming. We'll talk
No,
about that, but
but
yeah.
let's not even talk about might. It's gonna happen this year.
Well,
Just
yeah,
so you
for
know.
sure. For sure, but could be happening very soon, as in like Saiyan Day potentially. But we'll
I
get
mean,
there.
we could just hop into that right now. I mean, there's not really much else to
Well,
say about
did you guys want to
technically,
talk
right?
about the Carnival LRs? We didn't really talk much about
Oh
them.
yeah,
I think we
kind of
should.
touched on them.
You
I
did.
mean, they're yeah, like they're good, right? The Goku and the Gohan, but honestly, I feel like Goku especially, like Gohan's definitely flying under the radar. Gohan is very underrated. Goku especially though, I feel like people kind of understand how good he is to an extent, but I feel like both of these Part 2 Carnival LRs are kind of underrated. And I feel like when people actually get them on global and try them out, they're gonna be like, oh, they're not actually bad, right? I feel like
Right.
we're gonna see tons of comments like that, right?
Right.
Mm.
I
Right.
think people are just scarred last year from what happened with Goku and Vegeta
Oh yeah.
in Saint Saga.
Yeah. Ningen, did you pull for the Carnival LRs?
Yeah, I managed to. I got all 4 of the anniversary LRs.
Nice.
Just one copy of each
Okay.
because that's my plan for my JP. Like I said, my JP account is pretty much just there to make content for
Yep.
JP. So I will try and pull the unit, just get the 1 copy, and then save the rest of the stones for like upcoming banners or whatever. And then when it comes to global, that's when I'll like whale out for dupes and stuff. So. But yeah, I did manage to get all 4 of them. I actually got insanely lucky on the Part 2 LR banners. I pulled Goku on the 2nd rotation of the 3+1, and then pulled Gohan on the free multi of the 1st rotation. So it took me 450 stones to get both of them.
Okay, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Do you have any thoughts on the Carnival LRs? Do they seem pretty good to you, or not really?
They definitely seem good. The biggest problem that I have is, and this is gonna, I made a tweet about it the other day. It's kind of like I feel the pain of being a newer player all over again because both the Part 2 LRs, they are really good, but some of their best setups and like their best teams, I am missing multiple of the units for.
Right.
Like, for example, on Global, I have the World Tournament LR Piccolo Rainbow Level 10 links. On my JP, I didn't have them at all.
Oh.
So I played the World Tournament a little bit. I managed to get 1 copy, but I didn't finish high enough to get all of the things to get the medals to Easy A him.
Yeah.
So obviously Gohan. I do have STR Piccolo, and they obviously work together really well.
Yep.
But experiencing them both at 55% on more watered down versions of their team. They're definitely good, but obviously it's hard to see their full potential. But having
Sure.
seen like the rainbow showcases and stuff, they definitely are both very solid units. I think it's like everything, right? It's like the constant Gohan like controversy where people are just disappointed we didn't get Omega and Kid Buu. So some people are just not gonna like them even if they were the 2 new best units in the game. But like Minato mentioned earlier, I do like the concept of like using the intros as like inspiration and stuff. And I think, especially for Gohan, I really like his super attack animations as well. So I think the Part 2 Carnival LRs are very cool.
For sure.
One other thing I want to note is that
yeah.
their banners are actually much better than you
Yes.
would expect, right?
Yeah,
They
the
still have
banners
the
are crazy.
3+1, and then on top of that, it's
Oh yeah, there
basically
was
all
some
the
good-
2022 LRs.
Yeah, there was some good. I
Plus-
think Golden Frieza was on there. Zamasu, I think, was on there. There's some good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I got my 2 dupes for Fusions of Monster. They didn't have any dupes in them, and I got 2 dupes from this banner. I got another Golden Frieza dupe from those banners, right? I mean,
Yep.
even isn't STR Piccolo one of the banners? Is it? I can't remember at the top of my head. Let me actually take a look here.
But yeah,
No.
as a newer player, like I pulled so many LRs that I didn't have by summoning on those
Carnival
banners.
Goku
so,
and Meta Cooler returning is
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have Carnival Goku before. Now I do. So
The
yeah,
only
those
issue is
banners.
the SSRs, the random SSRs aren't there. Like there's
Yeah.
physical Great Ape Kid Goku. There's Inkabe.
Hey,
There's just
Cypress
no-
Big
Piccolo.
that's the
Those ones
thing.
are funny, but
There's just
the LRs are actually pretty nice.
there's just no comparison between like Carnival LR banners and like
Right.
yellow coin LR banners, right? Because it's like yellow coin LR banners, you want the one featured new LR. Obviously, they changed the format, so there's other featured LRs now, but usually they're ones that are quite old and potentially don't even have easy A's. And then you have these Carnival banners where, yeah, you've got like the return of Goku and Cooler units like Golden Freezer, like featured, like just from
The
with the
free
part
multi
one
as well,
banner,
it's huge. I
part
feel like.
part one banner having STR Cooler, who I also didn't have on my JP at the start of the anniversary and pulled him off the banner. You can pretty much build like, you know, part of the best build of a Wicked Bloodline team just from summoning on the two banners from
Yeah,
the
you
anniversary.
can get the only good villain team in the game, guys.
Yeah, basically. That's
Yeah.
all right. Super 17's on its way. Don't worry.
Right.
Okay, let's hope. Might as well talk about him now. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah. So we'll jump in there. I'll just say really quick on the Carnival banners that like the Gohan and Goku I think look pretty good to me, but I personally don't see myself using them a bunch. But for me, what's more tempting about the banner is actually all these other LRs. So that's the thing with the Carnival banners. I'm almost more excited to go in and get dupes or get my first copies of some of these other yellow coin LRs that are just crazy, are older Carnival units. So I think it is a very tempting banner for people to summon on for sure. But yeah, let's jump into the new content on JP. So we just got a Super 17 Dokkan Fest. So we'll start with Ningen because you are one of the bigger Super 17 fanboys out there. How good is this, man? What do you think of this boy?
Finally.
Yes, finally.
Not only did we finally got my Fusing 17 and Hellfire 17. So yeah. Where do I start? So I don't know when this is going to go up. I'm not sure if the card will be in game yet, but it's just the same old, the rinse and repeat cycle. Unit gets its details released. The community divides into two sides of the people saying that the unit is super good and then other people saying that the unit is super bad. Like, I know it doesn't take much effort to copy and paste two images together, but I'm even seeing people are going as far as like making like memes and stuff about how good or bad they are. They're not even in the game yet.
Right.
Like, it's actually crazy to me. But anyway,
actually, the private server
super hyped for Super 17. Now, obviously, he's one of my... it started off as a meme. He's not actually like my favorite character in Dragon Ball or anything, but he is a character that I think his design is sick. Obviously, I'm a big fan of long hair, as you may have guessed. But Super 17, I think he's cool. The unit itself, I do think is good. I think he's being massively underrated. The 17's version, I think nobody disagrees that Super 17 is actually crazy. It's just the fact that he doesn't come out until term 5 at the earliest because he also has a HP restriction, which sucks. It's kind of like Minato was saying with Super Buu. I feel like there's a couple of other units as well where they have these turn 5 conditions that should just be turn 4, and then the unit would be so much better. But yeah, Super 17 when he comes out is an absolute god. But the 17s, I think they're better than some people are giving them credit for. They're not a slot 1 unit for sure. But once they've gotten their attacks off, which they can obviously do multiple of in one turn, they build up a bunch of like defensive tech and everything. So I feel like they are better than people give them credit for. I think the art is awesome. I think most people kind of agree with that. I also love the fact that Super 17's kind of posing, doing the hair flick in the background. And then when you actually exchange into Super 17, he's T-posing for dominance, which is great. We finally have a Super 17 in the game that absorbs Ki Blast super attacks, although that has a HP restriction, which is kind of annoying. Although I don't actually know because I watched Truth Showcase and somebody said afterwards that one of the enemies, I think it's Nova, doesn't technically have a Ki Blast super. And I saw some people in the comments of the video where I did the breakdown based on Goresh's translations. I've seen some people saying that he does negate supers, but the HP restriction is for him healing from them.
Oh,
I
that
don't
would
know
be
if
a
that
lot
is
better.
actually the case or not, but that would make him better. But
that would make him a lot better.
Not, though. So I guess I'll explain it. It is both the absorption and the heal, because at least in terms of the GP text, it's when HP is 70% or above. he then absorbs and heals. But with how the global version words it, which is how Garish translates it, because it's how we would understand it, especially since most
Mm,
of us read the global passives. That's how they
yeah.
word it. They put the HP restriction at the end when it should
Okay.
be at the beginning, like the GP
Right.
version,
Right.
but global. So
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things. Extreme kind of in the mud in general, right? As we already mentioned, like the cooler team is like the only really relevant extreme team. Um, Androids like has had some buffs, but is still not exactly like the craziest team in the world. And then of course something that I feel like a lot of these points are just the general things that people have been saying about this guy, but it does feel like he is designed for longer form content, which we
Mm-hmm.
obviously don't really have a lot of at the moment. And I think you could kind of make the same argument for parts of the design for the Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta as well. So if we have some kind of like new longer form content, like I don't know, the Extreme Legendary Goku event, if something like that is around the corner, then obviously I think this guy will get more value. And if I had to choose between the two, I would rather have a unit that comes out and is kind of good now and then is really good as new content comes out than a unit that comes out now and is the best TUR and then the next new difficult content meta comes out and then they suck. So, but that's all hinging on if they are actually going to bring out this longer form content, because we've been kind of waiting for something like that for a while. But overall, I feel like whilst I'm not saying he's on the same level, I kind of feel the same way I thought about LR Super 17, where I'm happy there's a new one. I like aspects of his design, but in general, it just feels like he could have been better. There's a few like missteps with his design, but overall, I think the new one is pretty good. And I guess we'll have to see. I think once people get, like with every release, once people get their hands on them, whether it's in the private server or whatever, and start taking them into all of the different events, and we start seeing more like screenshots and clips of them doing the different like bosses and everything, I think maybe opinions will change slightly, but it's hard to say. So I mean, I'm excited there's a new Super 17. I do appreciate the fact that like so many people tagged me and everything as soon as all the details came out. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, looks good. I'm gonna summon for him on JP and hopefully get one, and then we'll see how it goes. But I'm definitely happy that we got a new one. Just hopefully he has his time to shine, I guess.
Yeah. Minato, what are your thoughts on 17?
I think he's good. I think he's underrated. Ningen talked about what I would really say, Phil.
Sure.
I think that his leader skills is not as bad as people make it out to be. Join forces is like people talk about look specifically like Target Goku, but like join
Mhm.
forces is not really a bad idea. And funny enough, I was low-key tweeting while Zingon was talking about it, but it's why can't you just run like Vegeta and Trunks slot 1, run them in slot 2, right? Not really a good rotation, but you get all the Android links from slot 3. Vegeta and Trunks' role is just to tank in slot 1, and they don't get defense from links really, so their defense performance is not going to be that different. And then that allows 17s to like kind of get all their links from like a floating Android support unit or something, and they'll start cooking. Right, like there's ways you could work around it, and while that's not like obviously as good as if we had like a full, really like stronger slot 1 Android unit, there are like the team build isn't really like there's a lot of options that I feel like people aren't really thinking about overall. Like we
Yeah.
have Golden Friezas on the team. You could run Golden Frieza slot 1, then have the 17s, cook with the Android floater or something, right?
I feel like he's
but
one
we
of
need a
those
lot.
units that you have to think about it when you use him, I feel like. And we've
People
had
don't
units
think.
like this before. Yeah. We've had units like this before, and whilst I would say you could argue that that is better, people like units where you can just drop them into any team and they're super, super good. And then if there's a unit where you have to build the team around them a little bit, or you have to make some like interesting or different choices that you wouldn't normally make with other teams, then some people will just automatically not like those units. It's like the whole meta we went through where like people just for some reason hated all units that weren't good in slot 1 for like a certain amount of time. And it's like some units are just not good in slot 1.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think
like I like I understand why people love slot one units. I mean, I love slot one units too, right? Amazing.
I
But
mean,
I
you
feel like
need
people
them,
act
right?
like
But
it's a deal breaker if they're not slot one, like for a very long
yeah,
time. And it's like, no, there's some units that are still designated for slot one. Not every unit has to be slot one. We only really every team realistically only needs 2 slot one units, right?
yeah,
So if you consider that, like for this team, we have LR Golden Frieza, EGO Golden Frieza. You could even run Vegeta Trunks slot one. There's actually a lot more slot one units people are thinking of. Even AGO Super 17 in certain situations could
yeah.
work viably as a slot one unit, right? There are options, and I think that people aren't really they're really thinking, oh, I have to run them on rotation with this Android unit. But think about how your rotations would work. Sure, it won't be as like freeform as like your Saiyan Power Beyond Super Saiyan team. Whereas like, oh, in this situation I could put this unit in slot one, which is more flexible. But this team build would be different where you have set rotations, right? I feel like
Mhm.
people are moving away from like wanting really specific set rotations, which I feel like I also kind of don't really get as much. Like unless you're going into an event that like locks your characters or something, like it's not that big of a deal to want to have set rotations. But I feel like a lot of people are like souring upon that recently. I'm not sure why,
Yeah.
but that's been a thing.
Yeah, and the thing with 17's leader skill join forces, this is a category that's constantly getting buffed. Like, think of all of the Goku Vegeta join forces units that have come out and that more that will come out in the future. So it's a category I think that is going to age well. So I think being join forces definitely isn't bad. And the one thing that I think most people would agree on with Super 17 is his animations are fire. Like, I thought those animations
Yes.
were very good, very top tier. So just seeing those animations make me want to summon for him. I would
You know,
say, yeah, go ahead.
I just realized something before someone calls me out. I realize now 17 does want an extreme class unit on rotation, so you can't run Vegeta and Trunks, but you can run Golden Freezes.
Yep.
Yep. And even having like Zero and 19 floating around, absorbing and supporting, like they're decent enough too. In the right event, you could just put them on rotation, let them absorb, or have them float, whatever.
Yep.
But they're
Goku
definitely
Black
some
and
options there.
Zamasu.
Yep.
Goku
Yeah.
Black and Zamasu in the early turns when they have their guard, and then when their guard runs out, that's when you exchange into Super 17.
That's the thing with
there
joint
are
forces.
options.
Yeah, joint forces span super class, extreme class, all different types of ranges of categories. So it's a very flexible category. You can do a lot of fun things with it. And you could just build up your own, a future saga rotation or whatever, and then you could have your androids on the other side. So yeah, I think it's a very flexible, fun team that you could do a lot of things with. So I don't think it's bad at all. I think the shortcomings were kind of listed. I think the big thing is that he needs to be in a long event because waiting till turn 5. And then the big thing is then even when you're in Super 17, getting hit 10 times, and that's after turn 5, like how many events are you realistically going to be able to do that? That's I think his biggest downfall. I wish they had made it turn 4 and then maybe only get hit 5 times. Then we're really talking, right? But like Ningen said, if there is something on the horizon, he could be a great spot in really long form content. So I think it's
Well,
fun.
plus
He's a unit that doesn't get a lot of love either. So just the fact that it's a more unique Dokkan Fest, I'm happy for it. Go ahead.
Well, plus one of the things I was gonna say as well is, again, I know like most of the time when we rate units, we're talking about like Rainbow Link level 10, like if we're doing
Yep.
like tier lists and stuff like that. But one thing that I think, going back to what I mentioned very briefly about like for the 8th anniversary battle, because this guy wants to be fighting against super type enemies as well.
Yep.
Now with my team not having a super powerful box on JP, it took me a lot of turns to beat that stage 8 of the 8th anniversary battle. So if you pull Super 17 and you have him and his team and they're not like all Rainbow Link level 10, like you're probably going to go well over 10 turns in that event. So, and the other thing as well is when you exchange into Super 17, he does need to get hit a lot to be fully built up. But somebody posted the calculations for it the other day. Like if once he's been hit 4 times, he survives every super attack in the game. So it's not like he needs to get hit 10 times to be good. Obviously, he's better when he's fully maxed out, but as soon as he gets hit a couple of times, he's already like super good. So
right.
I guess we'll just have to see what comes out.
I think this is nice too for you, like kind of starting a newish JP account to have that perspective, because we're always looking through the lens of like a veteran player, rainbow units, big box, right? And we have to keep in mind that for other player bases, like even red zone stages could go 10, 11, 12, turns. because they don't have these godly units or they're not maxed out. So yeah, you definitely could take this more turtle approach and go slower with a team build, especially if you're running like AGL Golden Frieza, like the TUR one, just to sit there and block in slot 1. He doesn't hit very hard at all. The event could take a lot longer. So yeah, that's definitely approach, and that is a good point. Anything else on Super 17 that you guys want to add in?
I feel like it does suck. Like, I'm really looking at it, the extreme class restriction he has.
Yeah.
If you're able to transform with them, like, Ningen said, like, some of those events, like the 7th anniversary event, I feel like they're kind of low-key designed for the anniversary event, right? Especially the last 2 stages. The 7th and 8th anniversary stages are hard. I actually found the 7th anniversary stage harder, funny enough. But
Yeah.
those 2 stages could be difficult, and it's like their Goku's in there, so I kind of feel like you're kind of designed to run those units in that event. Maybe we'll get a new like legendary Goku event soon for Saiyan Day or something, who knows, right? But the thing is, excuse me, I lost my train of thought. Actually, never mind, I'm a liar. Dang it. No, yeah, because if you could fuse into 17, he doesn't have that extreme class restriction anymore. So, like, imagine you have a team build where you're running the GT, Goku, and Vegeta. You stand by into the Super Saiyan Vegeta. Then you're giving the 80% support to, like, Super 17. And then not only do you have a revived 17 will be, like, invincible in slot 1.
Yeah.
And like the damage you could do in that rotation is pretty good. I feel like that's something people don't really talk about 17. Like Super 17 is pretty insane. He does really good damage considering just
Yeah.
guaranteed double supers in slot 1, basically. Like he can cook for sure. But one thing I feel like the final thing I want to say I don't like in terms of like, trying to build rotations for that team is that 17 before they fuse a slot 2, then they become slot 1. And I feel like they should have not done that. Honestly, what they should have done is given them guard or something. Like what if they're like the slot 1 they guard? Like that would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's my only thing. I feel like I like units that, they don't have to have the same role pre and post easy not easy pre and post transformation necessarily, but they should have like where you want to have them in the same slot essentially, in terms of like rotations. But who
Yeah,
I don't know, or
for
at
sure.
least if this was the case, let them transform earlier so that it's like okay more consistent rather than turn 5 under 70% HP.
Right. Right. All right. Well, let's move on to our next topic here. So we've got a couple of free-to-play EZAs, and normally free-to-play EZAs aren't a big topic, but there's some speculation because these guys on paper don't necessarily make a lot of sense for like this GT Dokkan Fest unit, right? So we've got EZAs announced for Casserole and the Pride Troopers, and then Goten, Trunks, and Marin. Now we could look at it and say, is it simply they are joint forces units and that's the connection? Or is there a little bit more there? Some people are thinking maybe this means Tournament of Power. And does this give us any clue to what the main EZA is going to be? Because I've heard Android 13 thrown out. I've heard MVP 17 thrown out. So we'll start with Ningen on this one. What do you think? Is there any meaning to these EZAs? Do you think are we looking too hard and trying to reach for something that maybe isn't there?
I mean, sometimes Dokkan does do things that seem to make absolutely no sense, but I mean, in this instance, I definitely would count myself among the people of wondering what the hell they're doing releasing these units. Because, like you said, even if you try and use like joined forces as the bare minimum way to link them to the 17s, as we've already said, you don't want to run superclass units with them.
Right.
So it's just I don't get it. And the thing is, I know we're going to talk about that a little bit as its own topic, but like, as far as I'm concerned, they've already heavily hinted that Saiyan Day is Battle of Gods and not Tournament of Power. So I just have no idea what they're doing with these. And the thing is, they're not
hinted, but it's pretty.
I would say
there's some
it is.
things there.
I mean, I would say it is. I feel like well, again, I guess why we'll talk about that when we get onto the topic, but yeah, I don't get it. And the thing is, neither of them really seem that good either. Yeah, I just don't know. Like, where do you even use them? Like,
Yeah, I feel like the Casserole could be interesting, but he needs that team.
He wants to
And
be U11. Yeah,
we're gonna get that team probably again, I think, this year. Or else there'd be no reason to like easy him. But who knows? They've easied characters before, and kind of it's like, okay, well, are they gonna be able to team up no.
Right.
But I think once we saw from the secondary thing you said about the hinting towards what the main EZA for the celebration will be, I think once we saw both the 17's leader skill and then the fact that they want to be run with extreme units, I feel like Android 13 has got to be the top pick, right? And then obviously the secondary potential. I would like to see an EZA for the physical LR 17 and 18 that exchange into 16.
Ooh, that would be a really good
Imagine
one.
they
'cause-
because they have a dodge chance. What if they get like a high or great chance to dodge,
Yeah.
and then you grant them something?
That's
Yep,
the easy
exactly.
I've been looking
And they're a
forward to.
support unit. I mean, the thing is, when AGL Cell came out, I did like a look back at them kind of showcase, because by that point they'd aged not very well, particularly. The 17 and 18 form, they completely rely on the dodge now. If you're trying to use them now, they kind of suck. But the 16 exchange, he's still kind of good, like kind of tanky. So if they get an EZA, I feel like that card could be really good. So imagine if the celebration gives us the EZAs for them and Android 13, that's a huge buff to where that Super 17 team is actually going to be looking. So I'm definitely interested to see that, because it'd be interesting to see what they do. The biggest thing, if they EZA Android 13, because he's one of those classic example units of a unit that I think most people would have much preferred it if his transformation was an active skill. So if you really wanted to, you could keep him untransformed and just use him as a support unit. But because he's not an active skill transformation, that means his transformation condition can change with his EZA. So I actually would be very excited to see what he's going to look like once he gets it. So I feel like he's the top contender for this celebration, because he just goes so well with Android 13 has always been Super 17's best link partner. So
yeah,
I feel like they have to do that. Come on, surely.
Right, and I'm glad that you mentioned the physical Android trio, because their target Goku and join forces, so they hit both of the leader skills there. But this reminds me of a really important question I wanted to ask on the podcast, because I wasn't sure how this would work. But so this is a 17 and 18, and then / Android 16. It's an exchange unit, right? Does having this unit on the team, is that considered having Android 16 on the team for AGL Gohan? How does that work?
I think so.
What's that?
What was the question again?
So my question is AGL LR Gohan, right? To get his fast transformation, just requires an Android 16 on the team, not on rotation, just on the team. Yeah. Does having the physical LR trio, 17 and 18, exchange to 16, is that considered having Android 16 on the team for that condition?
Let me take a look at the wording. I believe so.
It's the wording. Yeah, the wording of Gohan's passive is what's going to be important.
Because my thought is
name includes Android 16. Then yes,
pretty sure it is. Let me check.
If it just says Android 16,
then it doesn't work. But if it says name,
it is actually just Android 16. So
in theory,
I believe. Wow, funny enough, if you exchange into them,
it would work, yes.
It would work, because it's just Android 16.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So then that would also mean the 16-18 join forces card would not work for Gohan then, right?
No.
Yep. Okay.
It has to be 16.
Well, I just had to clarify that, because and you're right, that's a good point, because it'll always say name includes 16, or if it just says 16, because I also learned that about AGL Gohan when he transforms, because he requires a Super Saiyan Goku, but it's not a unit whose name includes Super Saiyan Goku. It specifically has to be Super Saiyan Goku. So I was running him with the Tech LR Super Saiyan Goku and Gohan from Cell Saga, and he did not get the 59% boost on attack from that. So I learned that one the hard way. So anyways,
it's just very convenient for him that his best link partner are the two Carnival LR Super Saiyan Gokus.
I know, and it works out. But I'm still a fan of that tech one, so I was running them a little, because I kind of like floating the STR one as a supporter, and then running that tech one on rotation. But now that just confirmed for me that I just always want to run the Carnival ones with them. But anyways, I'm bird walking a little bit. We'll get back on track here. So, Minato, we want to get your take on these EZAs, and maybe you've showed what you want to do, and if you agree with Ningen on what you think the big EZA is going to be here.
I think that are we going to talk about Gohan Cell? Because I guess
we will in a minute. Yeah, okay. We will go
for this celebration. I mean, ideally we get 13. Ideally, we get a Dragon Ball story revamp for the 17 Saga story event. And what I really want to see is the EZAs for I guess Awakening and EZAs. For the Hellfighter 17, that's free to play.
Yep.
I would like to see the Cell and Frieza also get that because I believe they're on Target Goku, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think they
right?
are actually, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're on Target Goku and they're support units. That Frieza could be interesting. He has damage reduction. Right? Imagine he gets like 60% damage reduction, and then he has like a defense raise or defense stacking. Yeah, they are on Target Goku, so that is pretty good, right? Cell could be interesting as a floater, right? Like that event right there would be so good for 17. But as of what we know now, they're during Tournament of Power. So it's kind of like strange, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully in the data download where we get that EZA, whether it's 13 or maybe they just are going to be like, yeah, we're going to do more Tournament of Power, screw Super 17. And
that would be so weird.
That'd be so bad. It would be awful. It's just another example of they don't care about villains, right?
Right.
I can go on a whole rant.
Yes, I know, right? It's like, hey, here you go. Here's a new villain Dokkan Fest, and then the whole of the rest of the celebration is Super Type Tournament of Power. It's like,
I made a whole Twitter post about this. I made a whole video about it. They don't care about villains. Like, this is the first premium villain release since Metal Cooler back in September.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's like, how bad would it be if it's like they're EZA and Casserole because they're planning for the EZA to be like STR Jiren or something? It's like makes no sense.
Imagine STR Jiren EZA. Like, that'd be so terrible. Like, honestly, arguably, right? What if I said Jiren should be on Target Goku because of the scene where Belmon's like, "Now go fight that Goku guy," right?
Right.
And Jiren goes to fight him specifically. I don't know. Honestly, you could argue the Gamma should also be in Target Goku, but hey,
no, you can't. We've talked about this.
No. Remember when Carmine went and clicked on the little button? It showed Boo, Vegeta, Goku there. Goku was one of their targets.
You know what?
Even though they didn't fight Goku in that movie,
he was one
Goku
of them.
was one of their targets.
This is why
Goku doesn't mean specifically it's the only targets. That is not
their target.
It does mean that though, because that's the only characters that are on it.
No, here's the thing: they're Target Capsule Corporation, not Target Goku.
What?
They're Target Capsule
Corporation.
That is true, actually. Yeah, that is true.
Guess what? Baby wanted to get revenge on all the Saints, not just Goku, but he's on Target Goku. Everything about that? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but once he encounters them, he is specifically his target.
We're going to go ahead and talk about. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah, once he specifically encounters Goku, then he is his specific target. Because we talked about, I know categories in Dokkan don't make a lot of sense, and we could spend a whole episode talking about characters that should be on certain categories that aren't, and vice versa. But it's like people saying that, like back in the day, people were saying like Zamasu should be on Target Goku when. Like, targeting Goku specifically wasn't a part of his plan. He just took his body because he was the strongest mortal that he'd encountered.
Right. Yeah, but he wasn't really...
This category is just very weird.
He wasn't, like, planning specifically to, like, target Goku, but, like, they were. It's the Red Ribbon Army!
Well, no, because that's what I said to you. The exact way I worded my reply to you on Twitter is the category is not called Target Goku and a bunch of other people. It's called Target Goku. Joe worded it perfectly. Their category would be Target Capsule Form.
That's right.
So, you know what? We're gonna move on. I know I'm correct.
We'll do.
That's all I'm saying.
We can record a separate Target Goku podcast after this if you guys want to do
the Target Goku podcast.
Target Goku podcast. Yep. And then we'll just rationalize how every unit can be on Target Goku. Like, Youth Chi-Chi.
My favorite one, actually. You know what?
She wants to marry him. Target Goku.
I have to give a shout out to
why is that World Tournament Chi-Chi not on Target?
That's what I was saying. She wants to marry him. He's a target.
That is kind of true. She literally went to the 23rd World Tournament for Goku.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to one of my IRL friends, the only IRL friend that I have that plays Dokkan. My boy Jake, whenever we talk about categories, the one that he always brings up, it sticks in his craw for some reason. The fact that Mecha Frieza and King Cold, who came to Earth on a spaceship, which is in the background of their card art, are not on Space Traveling Warriors.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of mistakes in categories. Exactly.
I love Dokkan.
All right, well, let's move on to the actual podcast. So we're gonna move on to global stuff, but do you guys have anything else you want to talk about on JP that I missed?
No, I think we're good.
I don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I mean, like the side banner unit, Jiro and Mew, they seem okay. Weird that they're not on 17's 200% leader skill.
Yep.
They also went unnecessarily hard on their super attack animation. It's really,
Sure.
really good.
Yep.
But yeah, they seem interesting enough. So
Okay. Sounds good. We'll move on. I mean, there's like other like the free to play EZAs, but they're maybe not worth talking about right now. So we'll just jump into global. We have been going for a little bit here, but I know we started talking about Gohan and Cell EZAs, so let's talk about them. I know they've been on JP for a bit, but they've come to global. We've been able to use them. So I'll actually start and go first because I've used them quite a bit. I've actually done some extensive runs with Gohan and Cell in Red Zone, and they both perform very well. I think I would agree, like most people, Gohan is way better than Cell untransformed, but I would say post-transformation, they're actually close. They're both putting up like 23 mil attack stats and just dominating fights. They're crazy. What I like about both of them too is both of their leader skills are actually pretty decent as 180 leader skills, and they both fit on each other's teams. So I have actually been liking running Gohan as a Kamehameha lead. And then I actually float an Int Cell and use Cell as the trigger to get his transformation. Because I think Int Cell is actually pretty valuable as a floater because I think of him as a floating, if I go below 40%, I can get a heal. And then a slot 3 floater that he transforms and can still put up like 20 mil attack stats. And the thing with Cell, you know, you think you got to put him with other androids, but he shares what Fierce Battle, Legendary Power, and Kamehameha with a lot of these units on like the Kamehameha team. Those are 3 powerful links that you can still get with Cell. So I've actually really been enjoying him as a floater. And then I just do my 2 Gohan rotations with the Carnival Goku, and that team performs excellent. And I've pretty much stomped every red zone with it. So I think they're both fantastic units. And I think if you are running an actual Android team with Cell, I think Cell untransformed is actually a little underrated. I actually think it's not bad. He can put up a decent defense stat. He can put up like 11 mils like turn 1. I don't think he's bad at all. I do think the big thing that he suffers from on an Android team is you want to link him with the physical EZA Cell, but he's already aged out. Like he was taking like 400k normals in some of these red zones. He needs a better linking partner, and AGL Cell's great, but he takes too long to transform. I'm usually finishing these red zones sometimes before I even see the final Cell on AGL Cell, but overall, I'm very excited to have them. They've been great units. I've loved them. Ningen as the other global main, I'll go to you next. What do you think of these units now that you've used them full level 10 links rainbowed?
So I think they are both very, very good. I agree with a lot of the things you said. I think Cell is underrated. Obviously, pre-transformed, he's nowhere near as good as he is post-transform, but I feel like his pre-transformation form gets underrated a little bit. I think the biggest problem with it is that he doesn't raise defense on his 18 key super, and he has a chance to additional in his passive, but if you don't get it, then obviously he doesn't get any extra defense for the entire turn. And his defense can be okay, but when we're talking about like later red zones, I think the problem with Cell is you do really want him to transform before you get to the end, especially if you are running him as a main rotation unit. But if you don't actually get him to transform, then he can be in danger from some of those later bosses. I think Minao, you've said the same thing before. Like, it's good that they changed his transformation condition from 30% to 40, but I think if they changed it to 50, it would be almost like a completely different story. Like, it'd be so much easier to get to that, especially because the Android team has a lot of healing in it as well. So I feel like the only time you really get his transformation is if on the previous turn you like almost got killed. Which does happen, obviously. And then when it comes to Gohan, Gohan is really, really good. The one thing I will say, I saw people, when his EZA dropped on JP, people saying like, oh, you know, he's a god. Is he like the new best unit in the game? He still gets clapped if he doesn't have his guard and when he transforms. So he's still, which is good. Like, he's a balanced unit, even though he's incredibly powerful at his peaks. Because that's one thing I have noticed. Like, if you're going into these harder red zones, if you drop below the HP restriction for him to have his guard, and it's only his first couple of appearances, he can still take a lot of damage.
Oh yeah, early game he can get hit hard.
And then yeah, once you transform him as well, especially pre super attack or even post in the harder events, you know, like for example, I was doing the Gamma 1 and 2 red zone, and transform him into Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, get tons of orbs. He does a ridiculously high attack stat, potentially even like 2 additional supers, kills off Gamma 1, and then Gamma 2 super attacks him and just kills him. So but I'm not saying this in a way to be like to try and like deride him at all, but like he's certainly not. I saw a lot of people acting like he was, the god of Dokkan reborn after his Easy A, but I do think he is very, very good. I've been very much enjoying using him. I think, like Joe said, I think nowadays a lot of people, they just want to use 200% leader skills or nothing else. But Gohan's 180 for Kamehameha, that is a ridiculously
It's very
good
good.
team.
Yep.
It's very, very strong because you got to think about it. Like if you're running, let's say you wanted to run a Goku family, sort of like a bunch of Super Saiyans with Kamehameha, and you run like the STR Goku and Gohan, for example. Their 200% only covers a few units that you would want to run on that team, and then the rest of them are getting a 170. So if you run Gohan instead, everyone's getting 180. So those other couple of units make up that little bit of extra stats, which I think some of them do need. Because that's the thing, Goku and Gohan, they have a really great combination of two 170 categories, but then the extra 30% doesn't really cover a lot of the units that you want to run on their team. It does cover Gohan, which is
Yep.
good. But yeah, essentially, it's good to have them on global. They are very, very good. That'll go down in history, I'm sure, as yet another one of these big like fumbles that everybody talks about for ages about why Dokkan didn't release them at the same time, even though they definitely made it look like that was potentially going to happen. And the worst part about it is, I don't understand why they did that. Like, if you think about when they came out on JP, it was just before the new year, wasn't it? It was still in December. To when they came out now on global, nothing in the meta has changed at all on global. So there was no difference if they released them in December to releasing them now. So I really don't understand why they did that, but it's good to have them. I know a lot of people really love that AGL Gohan unit. He was a lot of people I know's like favorite unit for a long time. So him being back and actually usable again, and being very good at his peak,
Yep.
I think is definitely very, very cool.
Yeah, one thing I like about his design is obviously since you're below 59% when you transform, if the RNG is good and you've got a big pot of AGL orbs, he typically will full heal you, which he heals like, because he's 500 plus K defense start to turn. So I very often full healed with this guy. And the way his kit is designed is he gets an additional if he's below 58% at start of turn, but then he gets a guaranteed additional when supering if you're above 59. So if you get that, you heal up. He can quad super, and I did the god. I did a god turn with him where I did basically like an 80 mil attack stat because he did like a 23 followed by 17 followed by an 18 mil followed by 19. I mean, it was darn near, it was insane. Like the amount of damage he did on that turn, and it was like I'm pretty sure it was Red Zone Omega, and he just one shot him, like just ridiculous, insanity. So yeah, very very cool unit. Minato, I know you've had a little bit more time with them. Do you want to chime in on Gohan and Cell here?
I agree with thinking on Cell. I do want to point one thing out about Gohan specifically.
Yep.
I feel like I have to keep in mind at this point, or at least, in general, we have a lot more top tier units, right? Compared to when Gohan first came out. It was really like the time where it was Orange Piccolo, Vegeta and Trunks,
Yep.
Cooler, and Super Saiyan 2 Gohan at that time was just absurd, like better. I mean, I feel like you would agree Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is better than like Vegeta and Trunks specifically, or just specifically Gohan. But at this point, you guys in Global got this unit finally. But then there's the GT duo, the Spirit Bomb duo. We even have these new Carnival Goku, right? Goku and Gohan really, really good still. We, on top of that, have, the 5-year Fusions EZAs. So if you take a look at the time Gohan came out in JP, you can kind of see why, people are like, he's a god, amazing, kind of built different. Well, if we take a look at what it is now with Global and what we know with the 8th anniversary, I feel like the impact is not nearly as high as it would have been if they released at the same time.
I think it's more so the surprise because, like I say, the meta hasn't changed on global. Like we know that the 8th year units exist, but it's just the fact that, like, I think people didn't I feel like some people might watch this back and think that, you know, when I was talking about the flaws for Gohan, that I'm trying to say that he's not great, which is not what I'm trying to say at all. But
No,
the way people went on about him on JP, the first time I had him on rotation, even on his like third or fourth appearance, but his guard wasn't active, he took a
when
lot
his
more
guard's not
damage than I
active,
was
it's
expecting
oof.
him to take, based on how much everyone had gone on about him being like, oh my god, he's number one in the game again. And then
I
it was like,
think
oh, but he's taking this much damage from normals after getting like, you know, 9 super attacks where he stacks his defense. So
he really needs that
he's
guard before he
yeah,
transforms. Like
but
that's one thing. I think people don't really mention. I feel like the HP restriction for the guard, 58%, is a little high. You can definitely, if you get caught early on, especially with Gohan without his guard, he gets obliterated. But I mean,
I will
he's
say though,
this
one
old as a
interaction that I
unit,
do
right?
really, really like is the, especially if you are running like the double Gohan lead, so you have one on both rotations. If you're running Tech Carnival Goku, and you have AGL Gohan on the next rotation, if you get Carnival Goku's revive, then you obviously revive with 59% HP, so Gohan has his guard, which I think is a nice little, it's a cool little interaction, because it would be super annoying if you revived with Goku, went into the next turn, and then Gohan didn't have his guard up. So I do like the way that they interact together. Considering they're two units that you want to run together, I do think that interaction between them is very good.
Now, there's one thing I do want to point out. A lot of people don't like that I had to say this, but I recommend Gohan with full additionals than Dodge.
I mean, I can see it. I saw people saying he should be like full. Well, see, well, no, he's not a character that people were saying full dodge. Was it people were saying like full crit?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no,
it's like,
I built mine full edition. He's an infinite stacking unit.
Yeah, full
And then
additional
full
for
additional.
sure.
when he
like-
transforms, you have to keep in mind when he transforms, you're under the HP threshold for him to get his 50% chance to crit. So it's like, okay, when he transforms, he basically can kill everything in the game, right? So it's like, you don't really need the crit in that situation because he's gonna have the whole, such enemy.
Plus, I think it depends,
killed,
because
right?
like the way I look at it as well, like if a unit is a stacker, I want them to super attack as many times as possible so they can get as many stacks. And sometimes you get into a situation where their super attack won't quite kill the enemy, but then they get an additional super, and then you finish off that enemy, move into the next phase, and you got an extra stack, which is the best case scenario. Whereas if they crit on
If they
that
just
first
crit,
super
it's
and
still
killed
only
the
one
enemy,
stack.
then you don't get the extra stack. So yeah, for infinite stacking units, I feel like full additional is always the way to go, unless they're obviously like, a weaker unit or a support unit or something that just happens to stack defense. But yeah, for Gohan, additional all the way for sure.
Yeah.
I love this show. Snow crit. Yeah, what if I said screw crit? I'm building LR cooler with Dodge.
It's so
I
funny how in like old school Dokkan, like everything was crit, and now it's completely shifted to dodge and additional. So that's just
some people
I think
just
so many units have built-in additional as well.
Yeah.
Built-in crits.
Right,
It's
exactly.
I mean,
either a chance
additionals
to
too, right? I
crit
mean,
or-
all the good units have
Yeah.
everything.
right. Or if
I
a
think that's
unit
the
has
thing,
super
like-
effective, I don't give them any crit because super effective is good enough. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's if you get both, then obviously they still will do more damage. But yeah, if a unit is already effective against all types, then they don't necessarily need to crit. And another thing that we're seeing quite a lot now as well, which I think is great. I love it when active skill units have that. But a lot of units now have the thing for their active skill where when you use it,
Yeah.
not only is it a guaranteed crit, but then they guaranteed crit for the rest of the turn as well.
yeah.
And so in situations like that, it means that like every single point of crit in that unit's hidden potential is essentially worthless for that
Yeah.
turn. So
Well, this is a good lead-in because speaking of guaranteed crit and super effective against all types, we got Tech Bardock on global. So Ningen,
yeah, we do.
Ningen, you brought out your lucky headband. Do you want to tell us how your summons
I
went
did.
and your
I
experience
did.
with
I
this
got
man? Tell us about him.
That's right. We busted out the red bandana to bring the luck. So obviously, as most people know, I'm a huge Bardock fan. Like, the whole theme of my channel is around the Marseillan, or at least was originally.
Wait, the Marseillan is Bardock? Spoilers, Ningen. Come on now.
Oh, wait, no, because Marseillan says he's not Bardock.
That's
so I
right.
must
He
just be
says he's
getting
not. He's got to be
confused.
somebody else.
But yeah, I literally have a Bardock tattoo. I'm a huge fan of Bardock. So this is one of those banners where I would have been really disappointed if I got shafted. But Fortunately, I was repaid for my loyalty, and I did incredibly well. Obviously, Global got the ticket pack. It was the good one. I think I prefer that one, where it's like the 20-unit multi with a guaranteed featured. And literally, that was the first summon I did of my like session, and I got the Goku Black Rift. So great way to start off. And then yeah, by the time I'd done my summons like on the stream, I think I'd done like 700 stones, and I pulled 3 copies of him in total, including the one from the ticket pack. And then I have a habit of doing this lately where I'll stream summons, and then once I'm done and I'm awakening units and stuff like that, a lot of the time these banners seem to drop on the days where I've worked a night shift previously. So
Yep.
I do my summon stream, get the unit awakened, record 55% showcase, and then go to bed. And like as I was getting ready to go to bed, I was like, you know what? I've got like 63 stones or whatever because I just did the battlefield reset. I'll do one more multi.
Yeah.
And got Whis animation. So in 750 stones, I got him to 90%.
That's really good.
And then yeah, literally the other night again on Twitter, I was like, I was testing out. I can't remember what I was trying to do, but I was using the int Tora on the team. And he got me killed. minus 55%.
Yeah, because he sucks.
I mean, he's okay in certain situations, but he's quite bad. But
Yeah, he's
at
okay in
50
certain
at 50
situations.
at
with type
55%,
advantage
he is bad.
against Dokkan events.
No. So at 55%, he
Mid.
certainly is not very good. So
Yeah.
I got killed in an event, and I looked at my stones. I was like, oh, I've got 100 stones. What I'll do is I'll do one more multi. I know people are like clowning on me for this as well, right? Like people will always say, "Oh, one more multi," and then they do like 10.
Yeah.
But I do try and plan my finances out. So in this specific situation, it was legitimately one multi, and then I'm saving the rest for Saiyan Day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to do one multi, and I'm just going to pray that I get a Tora dupe, because Tora is just letting me down horrendously.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did my one more multi and got Whis animation. So in total, I got Bardock rainbowed in 1,000 stones on the banner, which
That's
I think
good.
is probably a record for me. Because I never normally summon to rainbow units on the first banner anyway.
Right.
And legitimately, I only did another multi because I was trying to get a copy of Tora. And ended up pulling another copy of Bardock. So yeah, I have Bardock Rainbow. He's full level 10 links. I think he's awesome. I think he gets massively underrated. Yeah, I just think he's really, really good. Like the way he can build his team, he has every Goku on his 200% leader skill. So you can run a bunch of these units. Like you got Carnival Goku, depending on the boss of the event, Godku. You've got the new STR Carnival Goku with the support. I really like the interaction with them because Bardock shows you the super attacks for the first 5 turns. So then you can strategically play where you want to put STR Carnival Goku, get him to get all of his hits early on, because while he's getting his build up, you can use Bardock's ability to make sure he's not eating a super straight away.
Right.
And then as Bardock's Scouter effect runs out, you've then fully built up STR Carnival Goku, so now he has a Scouter effect. So them two together, I think, works really, really well. Yeah, overall, I just think he's really good. He's not crazy. He's not like the best TUR or anything like that. But in the right circumstances, like with realistic units, not trying to like, you know, overpower him by using crazy support units you'd never actually run in difficult events. Like obviously mine being fully maxed out. I'm seeing turns where he's getting like double 10 million attack, which is guaranteed crit. Like 600k defense at the start of the turn, and he greatly raises on super attack. Yeah, I just think he's really good. And it's one of those things, like I said, with Super 17 earlier, there are certain characters that I like, but if the unit sucks, like I will say that they suck because I'll complain about it because I wanted the unit to be good. But I do genuinely think Bardock is very good. He's not like, again, he's not like top 5 TUR in the game or anything, but
Right.
I do think he is very good. I'm having a lot of fun using him. So
Yeah. So I went
and
in.
then Tora's just kind of mid.
Right. Tora's just there, right?
He can be okay, because this is
Yeah.
the thing. So the problem with Tora is you have to use him on a very specific team build, because
Mid.
he needs the storied figures allies,
Right.
and
Bad.
then he needs like the Team Bardock allies on the actual
Even worse.
rotation. Now there's units like Physical Fasha, who I've been using on
She's
Bardock's
great.
team,
She's great.
who actually is crazy, like
Yeah.
700k defense at the start of the turn, and then does like 10 million attack stat supers. pretty good.
Yeah, she's great.
Now, on the turns where he is good, Tora can be pretty good. Like, he's got okay defense, hits an okay attack stat. And this is, again, just me going by 55%. And then he has, like, 30% damage reduction, 30% chance to dodge. If you get dupes, you just give him full dodge, because he is literally just a floating support unit character. He's not there to do damage. I definitely don't think that he's like absolutely awful, but he's definitely not very good. And the main reason is because he's so restricted to the team build that you need to run him on for him to look good. And he's not good enough for you to have to jump through all of those hoops to actually make him like at his best. Like, I think I said this specifically on Twitter the other day. If a unit can only really be used on one team, then they should like borderline be the best unit on that team. Otherwise, what's the point? Like, why are you restricting them to only being used on one team, and then they're not even that good?
Right.
So, but anyway, I have no reason to summon on the banner anymore, so
Right.
I'm just gonna have to hope that in the future summons when he's in the general pool, I get some extra copies so I can actually try him out like with some dupes. But yeah, long story short, Bardock good, Tora mid.
Yeah, so
anyway.
I summoned for Bardock just basically with tickets, and I also got Goku Black Rift on my ticket, so I got very lucky there. And then I did my just the discount multis, and I did pick up a Majin Vegeta to get him up to 90%, so I was happy with that as well. Bardock, I do see his value. I personally, because mine's only 55%, I kind of like him more as just a floater to get the scouter and get the benefit of that. But I do see a couple of flaws in his kit that I think definitely could make him better. The one is he wants rainbow orbs, but he only orb changes on his intro, which I wish he just always orb changes. That would make him a lot better. And then he's got the redundancy of crit and effective against all types, and he needs additional supers to build up. So I wish instead of either crit or super effective, one of those was a guaranteed additional on a rainbow orb. I think that would be a lot better. But I do really like him. I do think he can be a little bit iffy after 5 turns. He does lose some attack. But I like the way that you combo him with the Carnival Goku to keep the Scouter up. I think that's a really great idea. So yeah, I kind of agree with you where like Bardock's good. He's not like best TR or anything, but he's definitely a good unit. And I do like the value of his leader skill, right? Minato, do you want to chime in on Bardock?
Talk about Bardock. He's good. I think he's a little underrated. Scouter is very, very good.
Yeah.
I like him. I think he's a nice unit. I think just really, really good. Not really much to say besides what you guys said. Now I want to talk about Tor. Hey, Tor.
Yes.
Tor is like his idea is stupid. Yeah, I'm gonna be a support unit to the support unit. That's amazing. Great concept. A supreme. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to have a team of Team Bardock mid. I want storied figures, terrible category. Sure, okay, I understand he wants to support Bardock, which is a cool thing, but Bardock's gonna be a floater on your team of Goku family. I wonder who you're gonna run over taste with Goku family. I don't know, kind of units like Ajo Gohan, Type Carnival Goku. I think those are kind of good units. I would consider them better than Tora. I feel. Let me know what you guys think. I hate him. What a stupid unit. Like,
what I want to know, Minato, is how can we make it so Tora fits on target Goku? Where's that connection?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he wanted.
I mean, the thing is, I get that perspective because I've seen you say that before, where he's the support unit for a support unit. But like, whilst you can run Bardock as a floating unit on other teams, like if I'm a lot of the time because I like him, I run Bardock on main rotation. So having Tora floating on the team, he's good. Well, not good, obviously, but
I mean,
good for the support.
If you want to focus on Bardock, sure, for fun. That's definitely true.
Yeah, exactly. Not like it's not the most optimal build, obviously, to run when you could be running some of the best Goku family units. It's not like the most optimal build to have Bardock on main rotation, but Bardock can be a lot of fun when you get him fully built up and you have that support and stuff. So for that instance, he can be good. But yeah. He's just too restricted for where you'd ever want to use him. So
why don't they just do Pure Saints? And he'd be like twice as good.
Yeah.
But with storage figures, you can run Tapion and Minosha. You got to run that Tapion and Minosha rotation, right? Storage figures.
That.
King Vegeta.
Like literally makes storage figures on T Bardock, making both Pure Saints, and then he's like twice as good. No, 4
It's
times
just
as
yeah,
good.
why I don't see why they had to restrict him like that much. Because then yeah, like you said, if both of those were pure Saiyans, although he would I guess still keep that part of his passive where he's giving extra support if there's a Bardock. But then if those other parts of his passive were pure Saiyans, you wouldn't even need to run Bardock. You could run him on a pure Saiyan team. But instead he's just massively restricted to basically like one team build.
The thing is that
just dumb.
if you're running Bardock's team, you're gonna unless you're running a full team Bardock setup, which again could be for fun. Likely you're running other units like Angel or Gohan, Tech Carnival Goku, who are on either of those category teams. And it's like they didn't give Team Bardock, like they made the Team Bardock team like really, really good. So realistically, you're just gonna end up not running Tor. Truth had this Tor as like the 54th best unit in the game. I don't understand that. If we're taking that out, sorry, I shouldn't take that out of context. The list was about Raditz, but that placement is just really dumb to me. They could have made this unit much better. They could have made it like even if you use him in his best setup, what he's not even that like he's good, but he's not like anything special. And they're so restrictive. I don't know. I just hate this Tor. I'm sorry, y'all. I spent like much longer than we needed. But this Tor really annoys me. Anyways, I'm done.
So Tora or Inkaba, who's better?
I was actually going to say that.
But like Tora's design is almost as annoying as Inkaba's. Because you could see where they were going with Inkaba at the very least. And you could see what they're doing with Tora. But Tora's design is honestly easy. It's not really more annoying because you see where they're going for, but then the point is just dumb because it's like, again, like I said, he's the support unit for a unit you're gonna use as the support unit. So if he was like not restricted to just Bardock for most of the time, then he'd be like, okay, you could run him on pure Saiyans, then he could actually have some use besides being Bardock's, support.
Right. All right. Well, we can pretty much wrap it up there. I mean, we do have some Easy A's coming I'm excited for, but we can maybe talk about those later on in another episode. We've got the Super Saiyan Bardock sub Easy A's. We've got Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, and I think in Bojack coming. So I'm just very excited for those. I will say that Burst Mode was very fun. The Bojack Dokkan event, I had a blast with that. And then the low-class warrior missions, those were just fun to have. I think they should always add more missions for the legendary Goku events. But
we're doing some in JP, actually. But...
Yeah. So we'll just, to wrap things up, you guys, anything else you want to share about anything we didn't talk about, and then we'll wrap up the show from there. Ningen, why don't you start? Anything you want to add before we hop off today?
I agree. Like, I'm very excited for the Easy A's, the Super Saiyan Bardocks. I think Super Saiyan 3 Bardock is really good after his Easy A. I think he was quite underrated when he came out, so I'm looking forward to using him a whole bunch once he gets his Easy A. The one thing I will say, unless I'm missing something in the news, I don't think we're getting the Int Bojack Easy A.
I thought they didn't announce it, but I thought this is where he came in JP. Maybe I'm wrong because I thought it came around. What's that?
Yeah, he came with Yamcha, but they kind of mixed up the things because obviously the Bojack Burst Mode came with Carnival Goku.
Okay.
But he was the Part 2 LR for Yamcha on JP.
Okay.
So this is where the global schedule being different has kind of thrown things a bit all over the place.
That's where I got...
Because if they
got confused.
Bardock's, if they drop Bojack's Easy A as part of this celebration, then there's almost nothing left for Yamcha's one.
Sure.
So I'm fairly sure that that's going to stay with that.
Okay.
Because obviously, Saiyan Day's in like 2 weeks.
Right. Nope, that makes sense.
But yeah, bunch of good Easy A's. We should talk about them on the next episode once we've got them in the game. I know Minato's obviously got them, but I'm looking forward to them. So.
Yeah, I got thrown off because of the Bojack Burst Mode, and I associated that with getting his Easy A. And then the other thing was with getting the chain battle with Hachiyak. I thought he was going to be in the battlefield shop, but we haven't had enough battlefields to get him yet, so he wasn't there either. So more global shafting there. But Minato, anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. All right. Well, that is going to do it for our show today. This has been episode 105 of the Dokkan Battle Podcast. I would like to thank my guests today, Minato and the Masked Ningen. And my name is Joe Eggs. It has been an absolute honor hosting for y'all today. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.